Hi, this is Chris Kiefer, and welcome to the Power of ERDC podcast. Today, we bring you another episode recorded on location at ERDC's RD26 workshop. We're discussing an ERDC team promoting cutting-edge engineering and design processes for constructing and maintaining military and civil works facilities. The Tri-Services CAD/BIM Technology Center of Expertise was established at ERDC to provide guidance to the U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force, as well as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. This multidisciplinary team of engineers and scientists develops, adopts, and supports innovative data and model-based approaches to transform the built environment. Joining us is Nathan Jones, Chief of the Tri-Services CAD/BIM Technical Center of Expertise, which is located at ERDC's Information Technology Laboratory, or ITL. Nathan, thanks for joining us.
Awesome to be here. Thanks.
We also have Brandon Minard, a research general engineer at ITL. Brandon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so I guess I want to start kind of at a high level, and especially for people in our audience who aren't engineers. Tell us kind of what CAD/BIM is and why there's a need for this center of expertise.
Yeah, so CAD/BIM, so it's computer-aided design, and the BIM is building information modeling. So in 1992, to response to recommendations by the Military Construction Council, they created the CAD and GIS Center here at ERDC.
GIS is
Geospatial Information Systems. So that was actually a Tri-Services group as well too. So there's Army, Navy, and Air Force as well. And that was in 1992. All right, so that was kind of when CAD was actually beginning to take hold in the construction environment.
And just to back it up even further, again, for people who aren't as familiar, especially with construction and design processes, CAD, it's a computer design, so it's kind of the program that a lot of
right. So you're drawing a lot of lines, curves, whatever, arches, everything. A lot of the infrastructure that we build nowadays, of course, is either built in some kind of CAD system or some kind of BIM system, whether it be roads, levees, installations, all of that sort of stuff. So all of that is built within CAD. It's designed in those CAD systems. So in 2008, though, at the turn of the century, we started getting more and more into what building information modeling was. So that's when we brought in the BIM system, which is really a computer-aided design, but it has more intelligence to the model itself. So it's got attributing information that tells you what the walls are made of, what kind of material that you're going to be using in certain areas, flooring and all that kind of stuff. You can also do more as far as like interior decorating, that sort of stuff too. So it's pretty cool, and they brought that in there, and associated with that too was also computer-aided facilities management, CAFM. And so facilities management is taking those models and being able to do long-term maintenance and long-term analysis and asset management of all your facilities. So being able to take that BIM model and carry it through the life cycle process at the facility.
Sure.
So that was in 2008 is when we pulled that GIS part out, and we pulled that BIM portion in there. We still have some interaction with GIS, but we also included the computer-aided facilities management as well. And today we offer a lot of help, a lot of research in computer-aided design software, BIM software. We build technical standards and information acquisition of software. We test out different new software that comes along and how it interacts with all of our groups' day-to-day operations throughout the life cycle of the facilities that they manage.
Sure. Going back, 1992, 93 is when you said the center was first built. Kind of why? Like, why was there a need to have a center of expertise? What kind of is the problem it's solving, or what would it look like if there wasn't such a center?
Yeah, excellent question. So around that time, like I said, that's when computer-aided design CAD was really taking off as far as being utilized in construction management. And the DoD at the time noticed the need to have a center that can actually set the standards of what we need within DoD for those facilities and for those CAD designs.
More consistency.
More consistency between those. And so that helped us out being able to create our designs and being more biddable, if you will, or more constructible in the long run. So we've started working through those. So that was one of the main reasons there, is to make sure we had a standard, make sure we had also a group that can review the new software that was coming out. Because at the time, just like anytime you have a new technology come out, you got a lot of people trying to get in the market. Well, what was the most optimal software that DoD or different situations that we need to have their softwares in?
Sure. How best to use it.
Yep.
Yeah. Sure. You hit on it a little bit, but and I want to in a minute kind of talk about the work you're doing today, but I'm sure it's changed a lot through the years. Again, since '92, and you mentioned it started with GIS, and then you added in BIM as it went on. I mean, you just talked a little bit at a high level about how much the center and its mission has evolved through the years, whether that be 30 plus years?
Yeah, so like I said, we started off basically just doing CAD and all that. And now we've moved into more advanced modeling situations where we are utilizing these systems more and more to gather data throughout the entire life cycle with its initial conditions in the geospatial world, where we're adding that into a CAD system. Then we're doing our designs on top of that in our CAD systems and BIM systems. And then we're taking that into construction, and we're making sure that that model stays consistent throughout the construction process, and then utilizing that model again during the facilities management piece, during the operational durag as well. That's so that when you have maintenance crews or you have new designs come in there, you've got an as-built system that's already ready to go, that has all the information. You don't have to go recreate that information. It's already there.
Sure. You can guide all that. Sure. Moving today, and Brandon, tell us kind of more about what the center is doing today. And I know you have 4 focus areas, and kind of walk us through some of that, some of the projects, and what that looks like.
Yeah, so we've got, as Nathan pointed out, our kind of focus now is in 4 areas. We've got digital engineering, which is just applying the model throughout the life cycle, using it more for data-driven decisions. We've got our built environment, so focusing on how we can help our customers like USACE, Air Force, Navy, to leverage not only the design tools that Nathan mentioned through our industry partnerships, but leveraging the model through design, through construction, and ultimately turning it over to our stakeholders and letting them use it to support operations and maintenance activities. Our other efforts are in decision and data science, and so obviously there's a big push right now for AI and ML, looking at what we can do to lean our workflows. So we talked a little bit in some sessions yesterday about where we're at on this kind of digital transformation maturity level. We're still kind of in that, digitizing our work, looking at how we can then get to a point where we automate and streamline, and then obviously transform our organization through the use of models. And so leveraging tools like AI, data analytics to figure out how we work, how we can make some adjustments to lean our workflows is where we're also focused on. And then the fourth one is...
The last one is data visualization and immersive technology. So trying to be able to immerse yourself in these models that we created and be able to show stakeholders what your system is going to look like before it's built, being able to find interference issues with the model based on your site condition, and being able to also use these things during operations too, so you can see where things are. Say if you can't see behind this wall, but I know that I've got a model that shows where my utilities are located or things like that. So that's what we're talking about there. And also other ways too to just be able to visualize our data associated with those facilities and those structures.
Yeah, it's just giving a different perspective. And so we've piloted, obviously for that piece, we've done a lot of work over the years with our stakeholders, pushing these technologies, but getting to a point now where these are out of a pilot focus, and we are looking now to standardize it. So what types of things do we need to write and change our policy? What do we need to do in terms of changing our contract requirements to either get this data from contractors or procure through other methods? And then ultimately, how do we interact? Not only with the project delivery teams with the USACE districts, but also how do we interact with the stakeholders and give them tools that allow them to see these proposed facilities and not have to try to interpret plans and specs.
Sure.
They're able to visually see this is what our facility or our infrastructure is going to look like, give us any, needed feedback to make any upfront decisions before we put a shovel in their hole. So,
yeah, sure, a whole new realm. I want to talk a little bit more in a second about kind of some of the individual projects and some of these different areas. But I want to pull on a thread that I just thought was interesting. You just talked about maybe when you're from a data decision science, and you said in one of our sessions yesterday we were talking about that, kind of backing up. Well, of course, we're here on location at RD26, and we just had an episode in our audience recently with Kara Carrillo and Lauren May talking about how this workshop kind of helps collaboration across ERDC.
Yeah.
But for you guys, I mean, you even kind of seeing being all here in person is kind of leading to being able to interact with people, I guess, who you don't get to see every day has led to more advancements for you guys too.
I think that's a big opportunity with the RD26 kind of environment, as it allows us. So myself, I work obviously for Nathan and with our ITL office, but I'm essentially I work in St. Louis. So getting a chance not only to work outside of the folks that I work with at the St. Louis office for USACE, but getting to meet other researchers that are from our other labs, understanding more of what they're doing. And although it may not be directly connected to the research that I'm doing, figuring out how we can work together, figuring out who's the go-to person for this type of work, to figure out how we can all come together, build those stronger connections, and move forward in some of these research areas as a kind of one organization, not isolated pockets of innovation. So through these efforts, getting to understand and meet more of the folks that are behind me has been very productive.
Sure.
And one of the things too, to kind of add to that too, is that a lot of our research now is built around digital twins. And so we've become the experts when it comes to digital twins now. So we are really getting involved with a lot of the individuals, researchers at the labs to be able to build these digital twin models so that they can go do better simulations, if you will. We're also working with other agencies to also build these digital twins so that they can be more included into what is going on in their facilities at an overall basis, sir. That's a big part of our research right now, is building those simulated models, those meshes and things that they need for those digital twin systems.
Yeah, and talk more about that. Brandon, I know you've done a lot of work with digital twins as well, but just kind of the transformative potential that offers.
I think it's the visibility piece and the transparency. So what Nathan's pointing at is right now, kind of the workflow is, we go through the planning stages, we design a project, we utilize BIM and GIS and other applications and tools and processes. That then gets turned into construction adds to it. But then when we do project handover, it's still, although we're trying to modernize it, it's still the typical, we're going to give you all the plans, the sets, the O&M manuals, all the typical closeout documentation. But then it's still kind of sitting on a shelf. We're not getting a way to leverage the models more into operations and maintenance. And so by bringing these, by creating these types of digital twins, not only for, future operations and maintenance, but taking it more at the front and saying, for like an installation or a lock and dam, that if I start it here and build that foundation from a visual standpoint, and then I can look to integrate other data sets as they become available as the project lifecycle, unfolds, more people are allowed to have that visibility, that transparency. They don't have to look at all the documentation. They don't have to look at all the databases. We're connecting them all together, and that's allowing people to have a more holistic view of what's actually going on during project delivery, but then in operations, what do we need to shift? What types of user experiences do we need to create? So we're taking, all the data, everything from the kitchen sink down, and we compartmentalize it to say, well, this is what a facility manager needs. This is what a senior leader needs. This is what maybe my engineering team that comes in future to do future renovations might need. And it's bringing everybody into one common operating picture. Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, those common data environments, they're really key in making sure that you've got all your data in one place so that you can get to it. Because right now, a lot of issues that we see, especially DoD agencies run into, is that everything is so siloed in different places. And so you're recreating, the same data in certain different, platforms, and the idea is to have it all in one platform, and you can pull it out of there and consume it how you need to.
Sure. And I guess in terms of operation and maintenance, I mean, digital twins is a game changer there in a lot of ways too, is that it?
It is, but so the problem is we go look at people, process, technology, all kind of three-legged stool. We're focusing a lot on the technology right now, yes, to give you better tools to use, but then that will turn around and fix our processes. We'll look at how we can streamline our processes by that. But then we have to address the bigger elephant in the room, which is the people, the culture. I'm asking you to do different things. I'm asking you to work out maybe sometimes outside your comfort zone. So teaching you new ways to execute your job, hopefully in a more streamlined fashion and an easier fashion. But it's obviously going to take time. We're not going to turn this all on tomorrow and everyone's going to pick it up and run with it. So there is that the typical technology adoption curve. So finding those early adopters, finding the stakeholders that want to buy into it right now, working with them, continuing to pilot it, but then turning it into standards through policy and all that will become sustainable. So that's where we're headed right now. And we talked a little bit about this, but even just the digital advisory type services that we're looking at offering is when we go meet with stakeholders, understanding how do you work? What are your processes now? What are the tools that you use right now? And where do you want to go? And how are we going to get you there? What's that roadmap look like from a technology standpoint, from a process standpoint, and then the training to reinforce that. So that's all kind of coming together.
I was about to ask if training is another big part of what you all do, and to the center.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so with new technology, of course, there's always got to have that learning curve associated with it. And so as we do research on what is the best part or best software or best technology for your application, we also are looking forward into also giving you training in those aspects too. So that's some of the things that we're definitely highly involved in, especially from the USACE side of the house. We are one of the key components that actually gets trainings lined up for a lot of our designers, our construction managers, and some of our operations personnel as well too. So we help USACE in that aspect, and we also help the other Tri-Services as well, either actually getting them the training or pointing them to the right training.
Sure. Data, we've talked a lot about just all the data that's now available and bring it all in one place. In data science is a part of one of the focus areas that you mentioned, data and decision science. AI ML, I'm guessing, is pretty big game changer.
Absolutely, it's changed a lot of the ways that we process our data, a lot of ways that we look at our data. So the idea is you can take an ununiformed system and just consume it all and be able to prompt whatever you need to out of it. That being a big key there. We're looking at AI as being available to help us consolidate some of our specifications that we have that are used DOW wide. We're looking at taking those systems and creating these either checklists or even automated checksums of checking between our plans and specs, just to see if they're biddable or if they're even buildable. So we're looking at things in that realm as well. Generative design is also a big key item too. So we're working with our partners to find innovative ways where we can do generative design to kind of shorten that design process some, so that'll help us out, and also possibly even make our quality better as well. So we're looking at different ways to do that. So we've said before, that one of the, I've been asked before, what's one of the biggest things that you see over the next 10 years that's going to be a hard sell for Army, a hard problem for Army? And just data management is the biggest thing. So that's what we've really doubled down on, is how we're going to manage our data. How are we going to consolidate a lot of these things? How are we going to get out of these siloed situations and then have these common data environments where we can utilize them at one time and you just consume what little bit you need instead of consuming it all?
And I think that's maybe where the thing that I see that's most powerful with AI right now is not what can it do, but it's what it's forcing us to do, which is look at how we manage data. So you want to do all these things with AI, great. What are the real use cases and the problems that you're trying to solve? And once you understand that, then it's okay, well, what data is available? We're very good at collecting data as an industry, but understanding how we need to structure it so that we can actually make use of it.
Sure.
And understand how we trend that data to understand it and what's important for this type of decision. All is, I think, what AI is helping us do is we want to push the envelope and continue challenging what we could do with AI, but we've got to look right now of how are we even collecting the data? How are we structuring it? Where does it need to, when we talk attribute data, like what attribute data are we trying to collect? We can go collect anything, but how do we need to set it up so that somebody else can take it and run with it? Or even just looking at just the typical prompt, AI prompts, I can't ask it things if I don't have my data structure, because it's going to have us to continue to hallucinate. So
Yeah, right.
all these things I think are great of what it's forcing us to do. It's changing the way we're working, changing the way we're thinking, and that goes across the board with all these buzzword type technologies. So it's turning it out of the hype cycle and getting it into operation.
Right.
And I'm guessing a lot of the research that you all are doing is how to best use with AI ML.
It's finding the right balance of, I feel like as an R&D organization, we need to be out in front, the tip of the spear, understanding what can be done, what's most applicable, and separate the good from the bad, and to make sure that when we transfer this stuff over to stakeholders, that we're helping them, avoid all the distractions. So if we know these solutions aren't going to work for them and meet their needs, we've already kind of vetted that for them.
Sure.
And we can focus on solving the problems with the right tools, getting them the right data and stuff at the right time. Yeah.
Sure. We kind of went through different focus areas at a high level, but are there any like projects that you all kind of want to highlight across those focus areas that y'all have been involved with recently?
I think there's a lot of good projects. When we talk kind of the digital engineering piece, this is a major effort that has kind of stood up recently in the last few years of just, again, we've got a lot of military customers that are coming to us, having us assess how they work.
And that would be for installations,
larger installations, understanding how they work, how we can help them transform the way they do business, using some of the things that are in our lane, but then how even the things from, the CAD, the BIM, the facility management, facility data, how all that sets the foundation, not only for the stakeholder, but when we create things like a digital twin to visualize it, that also helps our research community to say, well, anytime they want to do work with this particular stakeholder, how can their research essentially integrate with what we've already stood up? Sure. You're looking at condition assessments, and you're looking to bring in things like the work that they do with ESMS, for example. How can that be visualized through these environments that we've already created?
ESMS, that's basically facility maintenance, right?
The enterprise management system out of Searle. Yep. And so they've got a lot of great data, but helping others understand what type of data needs to go into those systems, and then how can it be visualized, not just through dashboards, but through different scene layers and 2D and 3D maps is also very powerful. When we look at outside the military side, even on the civil works side, we've got, potentially here a huge effort with inland navigation, looking to do the same things for lots of our civil works infrastructure. Is how do we get that virtual replica as a back or as a base, right? To then start looking at how we can integrate operational systems and giving everybody those tools to do their jobs a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, and that's a great one there as well, because it's going to be utilized in 2 or 3 different fronts. One of those being, just doing simulations of inundations and channel improvement, that sort of stuff. So they're looking at those type of things as well. So being able to utilize that physical model or that physical mesh, if you will actually help them in the simulations. And also it'll help certain folks that are in our design groups to be able to take those locks and dams and be able to understand what's currently there and what needs to change if I need to fix something. So that's another thing too, that is big. So that model, that whole project, that will be utilized in different fronts as it is. So that's what we're looking forward to moving forward for most of our facilities, is being able to use these digital twin systems for not just, I built a digital twin, it looks good, it looks nice. You're actually going to use these things and use them in a lot of different applications.
Yeah. And I would say, yes, it's still kind of a buzzword across industry because there's a lot that has to go into it. It's a way of doing business differently, right? So understanding, most of them are, yes, geared towards how we help operations, but if that's stood up for an installation or even this ERDC campus right now, how can it be leveraged for future activities, for planning, planning future facilities on the installations or planning future infrastructure in communities? How does it then support design efforts? So we work to engage, whether it's USACE design PDTs, AEs. If we open up that type of environment to those parties, they can bring their design data into it, and they can start seeing the whole picture. That then can get enhanced in construction. Again, having not only USACE construction staff, but our contractors that support those, having the ability to see as they update and continue to add to it with their construction data and refinements of the models. All this is just continuing to progress. That then is turned over to operations, and we help with that sustainment. It's not something that the stakeholder has to do alone. And so all that stuff's coming together. We talked AI, we talked data visualization, all that kind of really can be brought together. While it can be looked at, I'd say, from separate entities or separate research efforts, what we're trying to do is bring it all together and figure out how it helps the whole common operating picture. How do all these tools come together? How can we visualize it? And then who are all the people, who are all the players that need to have a say-so in this? So
Exactly.
but it all goes back to getting data to the right people at the right time.
Sure. It all starts with that.
And also too, kind of along that same line, from the digital engineering and the visualization piece, there's a lot of different things that are, outside, I guess, the CAD BIM that we're involved in, because it's required for us to build these digital twins. So like reality capture piece is a big part of that. So we're researching different ways of being able to quickly deploy scanners and things to be able to capture the environment and be able to bring that in quickly into these digital models, so that we can build these models pretty quickly. So there's things that we're trying to work on as far as like scan to BIM, where we're scanning things and trying to identify real time through the applications that we build, what is that BIM model look like, and identifying those attributed information inside that model. So like, is it a door? Is that the corner of the wall? Is there a window right there? What kind of window is that? That sort of thing. So being able to be smart about rapid scanning and reality capture is also something that's really kind of near and dear to what we're working around too.
Sure. It's pretty big gamut.
Oh yes.
As you get through it, also, a few of the Tri-Services Center of Expertise. So as we talked about, that involves a lot of, particularly installations, working with, and the expertise for that across Army, Air Force, Navy.
That's cool.
Also do a lot USACE. We talk about civil works, particularly infrastructure, water, lock stands, etc. Private industry too. Do you all do much? Are you working with private industry?
So we have a few private industry partners that we work with on certain things. We currently don't have any design or research projects initially with them at this point right now, but we do work with like some Autodesk and Bentley products and Trimble and a few of those big geospatial CAD BIM software companies. We work with them one-on-one to determine what kind of new technology do you have coming down the pipe that we can be looking forward to,
Sure.
that we can be researching to see if it's something that we can adopt into our USACE practices, into our Army practices, into our Air Force or Navy practices. So we look at that as well too. Is there any others?
Yeah, I would say, in addition to working with the industry partners from the software standpoint of like what's coming down the pipeline, what's trending, also working with industry partnerships, so like our AEs, our contractors that we work with. Not only we have a group called the USACE Industry BIM Consortia that's led by Mr. Steve Hutzel out of our office. That's been going on for about 20 years. And the success of that is understanding how are our contractors using these tools? What are they finding that's working well? What's meeting their needs? And that helps us understand then, for the things that we want to see utilized, how do we turn around, write that into contract requirements to standardize these processes? What types of policies need to be changed so that we transform as an industry, as an organization, not just this is the USACE way, or NAFAC, this is what they want to do, or Air Force. It's making sure that even when we do R&D projects for any of these customers, that we take a step back and we say, okay, well, how can this help our other stakeholders? How can we get to one kind of DOW, right, effort versus just one-off, again, pockets of innovation. And so through these collaborations with our industry partners, both from the software vendors, but also the AEs or the GCs that we work with, we get a lot of lessons learned. This is the way, how this is written or what you ask for. If it's done this way, we'll get you the best bang for your buck. We'll make sure that your data is set up the way that you need it to support your downstream needs. And so all those have been very, very productive with helping us over the last 20 years set standards, set policy, and develop a lot of the templates and resources that not only we utilize for our own organization, but that industry leverages in the execution of our work, but also to help support maybe building their own programs in the future.
Sure.
Yeah, the UIBC, the USACE Industry BIM Consortium, that's been really, really key in being able to quickly deploy our BIM processes, really, when it comes down to it, where we're utilizing them USACE and also with our other partners as well, too, our Tri-Services partners. So we've been able to utilize their knowledge, their influx, because they're working on not just governmental projects, they're working on other ones, and they can tell us what works well with these projects that we make and try to adopt in our own projects. So it's been really, really good. It's been workflows have been really, really key out of getting what we have there. We've created some great tools that we've been able to utilize to help streamline some of our review processes and some of the things that we've been able to do within USACE there.
And one of the other, I would say, really powerful partnerships is through the industry, I will say, organizations, the councils and committees. So we work a lot with National Institute of Building Sciences. We've not only helped them write a lot of their documentation, serve on their councils and committees, but in addition to NIBS, we've got AGC, the Associated General Contractors of America, Society of American Military Engineers, through all these partnerships that are not only in kind of our realm, but also through the larger USACE organization. It's getting to understand who are people that are working in this area, how can we network with them, and all come together to really transform the way we do business, but also the industry as well.
Sure. Kind of along those lines, you mentioned earlier some of the digital advisory service that you were providing. I know that's kind of an important and emerging area. Can you talk more about?
Yeah, I think it goes back to getting beyond the hype cycle. So it's every year there's a new buzzword, right? And so we've got to always remember where the basics are. And so how do we do business now? We ultimately want to get to here. And so when you look at a lot of these higher level strategies that not only our organization has, but a lot of other companies and industry has as well, but how are we going to get there? We know that there's going to be roadblocks. How are we going to overcome those challenges, those obstacles? What does that operational kind of environment look like, right? So those advisory services and what we've done for some customers as of recent is having some on-site workshops, meeting with them, meeting with their supporting stakeholders, understanding how they all do business, what systems they work with, and what would they like to improve and see changed. And from that, then we can say, well, hey, maybe you're working with this tool, but are you fully utilizing the software that you're paying for? Or are you only looking at using certain parts of it? Is it worth keeping, or should we look at just rolling that off, or essentially software rationalization? Let's take that off and let's incorporate something else, or doing something in a different way. And so we spent a lot of time doing that for a lot of customers as of recently. Training is a big thing, right? We can't be 10 miles down the road. We still have to make sure everybody else comes along the way. So while we're talking digital twins, digital engineering, AI, we can be sometimes too far out in front, especially in the R&D realm. We need to remember that this ultimately has to be the tech transfer. So we get across, the valley of death, so to speak, and make sure our stakeholders are coming along on that journey, and that we're actually seeing what we're proposing put in practical application. And so coaching them, training them, providing even technical oversight on their projects at times is definitely key. And the training thing is, I think the biggest thing is making sure we know there's going to be some pushback. There's going to be some people that are going to love all this. The majority, I would probably argue, it's going to be a struggle, and they've got a million other things to be working on. So you're introducing new things, and they may not have the time to train or, the mindset ready to be willing to adopt it. So how do we change that? And through training and reinforced training, not just a one-off, but reinforced training to get to where we ultimately want to go is very powerful. And that's what we're trying to do with these digital advisory services, is help them understand how they work now and get them ultimately where they want to go, but also where we feel they need to be, and then help them in that journey.
Yeah, and one of the great things too, we've got a great group that is able to do this, and I'm gonna highlight Brandon here too. Like, so if a customer comes to Brandon and says, I want to implement, say, digital twins or whatever, he does give them that consulting role as well, but he also looks at it from the big picture, and he provides them a plan on how they can implement this in the future moving forward. And so that's really good that we're able to do that. We're to say, hey, yeah, this technology is great, and this is how you can use it. So here's a roadmap of where you can go with this, but here's the steps that you need to take to get there before you're there. So that's a perfect example of things that we've been able to do for customers, is to allow them the adoption of these systems, but to do it in a controlled manner.
Sure. Customer, if someone wants to work with you guys, what does that process look like? What is the best way for them to do that?
So we've got you can actually go look at our website. It's CAD BIM Center. You can go look at it, Google it, or whatever.
We'll have a link in our show notes too, for people to find it there.
That'd be great. Yeah. So you can go to our website. We have contact information there. You can email us and at our RDE or USACE emails, and I guess you're gonna post that.
Yeah, we'll have all that. We'll have a link to all that in the show.
Okay, yeah. So contact us there, and what we'll do is we'll try to set up a meeting with you guys. We'll talk about what technology you're trying to adopt, and then we'll set up an adoption plan for you and just work with it from there.
Sure.
Okay, before we wrap up, anything we didn't cover? Any closing thoughts?
No, I mean one of the main things is that we've got 4 major focus areas that we're really double down on. And so the built environment, digital engineering, data and decision science, and immersive technology. Those are our main big 4 focus areas, and we can adopt those in any kind of science and engineering piece, any kind of facilities management, any of that. So yeah, we'd love to take on any kind of position that anybody has out there that they're trying to look at getting into these new technologies and being able to fall in those realms. So just, contact us, let us know what we can do for you.
Sure. Right. Yeah, I kind of echo what Nathan said. I think it's just we're always looking for other partnerships, other ways we can help support not only our organization, but our supporting stakeholders. But I would just kind of end on just appreciate the opportunity to meet with everyone and do this interview and take it from there.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank y'all for joining us, and thanks for the work you're doing and boarding, on the cutting edge of. You said it spans so much, and so I appreciate you guys, and thanks for taking the time to come on and talk more about it. Yeah, thank you. Great to have y'all for our audience. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks again for joining us. We remind you, if you go to our website, poweroferdictpodcast.org, we'll have a lot more resources. A lot of the links and contact information that Nathan and Brandon mentioned will all be on there. And that is all for today. We will see you next time.